You're listening to the Round the Blind podcast with Ben and Levi. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit subscribe for more content. Now let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this installment of Round the Blind. This week we are joined with Mr. Joey D'Amico from Tecton Game Calls. And so he's going to shed a little bit of insight on what goes into making waterfowl calls and a little bit of his background, what got into making calls, and what his process is. So we're really excited, and this is something I've always been interested in. I've never really had the pleasure of really getting the insight of how to make a waterfowl call. And it's always amazed me. But so what's going on, Levi? What's going on, Joey?
What's shaking? Good to see y'all. Sorry, I got this light on behind me. If it's drowning anything out, let me know.
No, I think you're all right.
You're good, man.
It's not bad.
Yep.
So how'd you get into, like, let's start from the beginning. Like, what got you into, like, who took you? Like, where did you grow up, like, duck hunting, stuff like that?
Yeah. When I was younger, I did a lot of deer hunting and was in the Scouts, was an Eagle Scout. And so we were always outdoors. And I grew up in Southern Maryland. I definitely did more deer hunting than I did waterfowl hunting. And it wasn't until I graduated from college and kind of got down south here in Charleston area and really got kind of intrigued with it at first and then just absolutely obsessed with it after going the first few times. I had some guys that kind of took me under their wing and took me hunting around town and kind of showed me a few things, and so I'm pretty blessed to have met them and got to hunt with them and forged some good relationships there.
So when you say Southern Maryland, sorry, were you like Eastern Shore area?
So I grew up on the Western Shore in Calvert County.
Okay.
And so you had the Chesapeake Bay, you had the Patuxent River, and the Potomac River.
Right.
It's funny because I've gone back and hunted a good bit up there since I graduated college and got into it more. So it's definitely some good spots there for divers and for some puddle ducks back in the marshes there.
So big question with Maryland. My father-in-law, he spent a portion of his childhood in Baltimore, and so he duck hunted all through that area, and he said it used to be, one of the best places, and that he can remember duck hunting. But if you talk to a lot of people now about the East Coast, you're gonna get some crickets when people start talking about how well duck hunting is. So how different is it between then and now?
Well, I gotta say, my take on it is, and I've mentioned this before on some other forums and podcasts and stuff like that, but I think the basic three things are needed to attract ducks: the weather, the food, and the pressure. And when you look at dissecting those things, and where the birds are coming from that go to Maryland and further south down here to South Carolina and on to Florida, and the snow cover is just not happening up north recently. I know back in Maryland on the bay, there's eelgrass that would be everywhere, kind of like the Santee Lakes here. Used to have eelgrass and other vegetation there that's just not there anymore because they've released the carp and other things have happened to allow it being sprayed out, and the power company basically has the say of lakes here. But that the agriculture has moved west, and some of our SAVs are not grown anymore. So, you know, before you even introduce pressure, you've got loss of some habitat and loss of the cold weather that was getting the birds to push down here. So
Yeah.
that's my take on it. I know everyone's got an opinion about it. Seems to be a hot button issue lately because, you know, especially guys who might just start getting into it in the last few years. You know, they're just not seeing it like it used to be, and it'll come back. It comes in waves. And
Yeah, I 100% get what you're saying. So coming from the Midwest is coming out here, the habitat is nowhere near what it's like in the Midwest. So I 100% get what you're saying, and I think when you look at the habitat on the East Coast, I think that can definitely attribute to why the numbers aren't as good. But like you said, I think it'll all come back, and I'm hoping it does because it's not the East Coast ain't a bad place to be, but I got to kill some ducks.
yeah, I heard that. You know, you can still kill them if you do your scouting, but
Right. Yeah, I know.
it's not you know, you see the pictures from the 70s and the 80s, and it's just straps and straps, and
Right.
you know, it's definitely not the case uh, anymore. You know, especially like we're saying, the agriculture is moving west. Habitats are kind of, you know, whether it's from home building or from just different things happening to the you know, natural grasses and seeds and stuff. So yeah, I think it'll come back. It's all in phases. So
So I'm gonna go off topic just for a second, but I thought it was funny that me and Ben both said when we were in high school, whatever, like we started off deer hunting, then straight like in high school,
Yep.
someone took us under their wing. Then the first thing you said was, I deer hunted up until college, and then I met some guys, and I learned from them. I think that's how a lot of people get introduced into the sport. So I
yeah,
mean, I know we've harped on it a lot in the short time we've been on air, but I mean, guys, if you have a chance to take someone new hunting, do it, because I mean, who knows what Joey would be doing right now
that's
if
right.
them guys he met, he might be making deer calls, who knows? But
Oh yeah.
speaking of making calls, how did you get into making calls? I see your little lathe behind your right over your right shoulder.
Yeah,
That's,
I got
that's
I
your
got
lathe.
the wood lathe on one side and the metal lathe on the side. Kind of helps me with tenons and turning bands and stuff like that. But you know, I guess I've always kind of been a Renaissance man. I kind of I don't have an addictive personality, but when I get into something, I want to do it full tilt. I want to, you know, I want to carve decoys. I want to learn how to do that. I
Yeah.
want to learn how to build a boat. I want to, you know, you turn into a utility man when you become a duck hunter because you've got to work on your outboard. You've got to fix your
Right.
trailer. You got to get the lights ready. You know, you got to rig your decoys,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's just part of that. You know. Along the way, you know, sometimes you don't have the money to do certain things. Although
Right. Yeah.
call making's not it's definitely not cheap, but
Yeah.
you know, when I would blow a call, I'd be like, man, I bet you you know, I bet you I could do that. You know,
Yeah.
I could figure it out. And so that was just it. You know, I got a lathe, and I learned how to use the lathe just doing spindle work and carving, doing bowls, and then got into more of finding out how to make a call and how to do my shape repetitively. And you know, I like to call it, you know, one part folk art and another part machinist, because you want to get
Yeah.
your calls so consistent, but at the same time you want to be able to kind of put your touch on it.
So this might be a silly question, but do you run your calls strictly now, or do you have, I don't know if I don't know if I can give that information out, but like, do you run like strictly your own calls on a day-to-day basis during the
Yeah, when I'm
season?
hunting, it's all my calls.
Yeah.
I carry an old that I cut and modified, and then I carry my single reed Apollos, which is kind of a mid-range. And I've got 2 inserts that I swap out on a crappy barrel. I'm just looking around to see if my lanyard's hanging here, but it's not. I just this old barrel that didn't make the cutting room floor. I've been blowing that
Really?
on 2 different inserts depending on where I'm hunting.
Yeah. So that was a big question for me coming into this is that so you see a lot of different calls. Like I think everyone has an echo timber call, right? So is there certain calls meant for different landscapes or different settings? If that makes sense.
I think so. Depending on the operator, I think yeah, you can pull out a real soft timber call if you're going to be hunting some backwoods somewhere. If you find yourself in timber around other folks that you might have to compete against, maybe you're pulling out the Olt or blowing a cut down. I blew the cut down, probably was my go-to call half the year last year, just because the sound of the hard rubber is hard to, it's 50 years old and it's just, you're not going to replicate that sound.
Yeah.
But
so what is a cut down call? Like, can you break that down a little bit? Because I listeners might not know. I mean, I don't know. So if you want to break that down a little bit into layman's terms.
So cut down started in Illinois with the PS Olt company, and the guys up there were doing what they called the Quincy cut, and they were essentially modifying a PS Olt D2 keyhole call. And it kind of spread to Arkansas and Louisiana, and they've got their own kind of twist on it too. And a lot of guides back in the 70s and 80s made it real popular in Arkansas. Lester Capps and Kirk McCullough and those guys, they kind of made things mainstream and brought it to everyone's attention. And I think the idea of a cut down or modifying an Olt is, to me, it's great because I mean you're changing the tone of the duck call, but you're making it for you, and you can definitely fine tune it how you like, and it's just a part of history that maybe it's a call that was made in 1935 or 1940 that you're taking and getting it to sound how you want and taking it out in the woods and getting some birds to come drop in through the trees there. So
yeah.
Man,
So
you said it was.
Go ahead, Dan. You're good.
You said it was called the Quincy cut. It was nicknamed the Quincy cut.
Yeah, the Quincy cut. Yeah, that's where it originated up in Illinois. If you talk to Dave Jackson and Derek Jackson, Dave used to work for PS Olt, so he knows pretty much everything there is about those calls. And Derek's kind of filling everyone in as well. And so the Quincy cut was just a really aggressive. It's kind of just getting it down to one note. These days, most guys like the more finesse out of their cut down, like Jim Ronquest made the Mondo famous because you can finesse that call. But yeah, it started up in Illinois, and
so did it originate in? Is it called the Quincy cut because it originated in Quincy, Illinois?
I'm not sure if that's why. Right. I don't know if there was a guy named Quincy.
I think you're.
Ben, aren't you from Quincy?
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. Yeah, I think I lost your connection there for a second, so I didn't hear exactly what you said. But yeah, I'm from Quincy, Illinois, so that's why I was kind of interested in why it was nicknamed the Quincy cut. And when you say that it was kind of you know, kind of a more of a baseline, you know, one note call. I find that kind of interesting because there's there's a bay that's really popular to hunt in Quincy, Illinois, and we call calling the Bay Area high ball. You know, when you've got the ducks off in the distance and you're just, you know, high pitched blowing out. We call it the Bay Area high ball because it's you know, you hear it all over the place. I mean, it's just like a signature, you know, call in that area. So that's why I was kind of
Yeah.
interested if that was the, cause I don't know much history about call making or calls or any of that stuff. I mean, I love it, but I just found that would be really interesting. And if I was from that area and what you're talking about, and have no idea that, that's what you were talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's funny too. Dave and Derek just moved to, I think, Wyoming, so they're not even in Illinois anymore. But yeah, so I just went and grabbed, uh, you know, an original PSO. This is a keyhole, probably from uh, maybe from like the 30s or so. It's actually I got this from a guy in Canada off eBay, and it's been, I mean, I can't imagine how many times it's been blown. It's been worn. I mean, there's hardly any markings left on the call, but the tone channel is pretty square,
Uh,
which means I can manipulate it pretty easily. Um, and so what Dave and Derek did is they created their own hard rubber molded keyhole. Here's one I actually finished up tonight.
nice.
But it's the same hard rubber tonal, as they call it, made from the same factory, same molder. And what I do is I just get the tonal from them and I modify it, and then I make my own barrel. So it's a little ebonite barrel, which is
Oh,
rubber
nice.
as well. Um, but yeah, so the cut down is definitely my weapon of choice. I think what my first go to, you know, I've got my own call, my own tone board, but it's long and raspy, just like a cut down would be. So
Nice.
uh,
Um, so what kind of like breaking down like a little, if you can, like what goes into like making a call, either from like say if you bought the barrel and like the bell, or if you just what kind of goes into it, what kind of like what have you learned like over the years putting into a duck call?
yeah, so I mean, I went out to Mississippi about a year and a half ago with a friend of mine from the Woodturners group here in town,
Mm-hmm.
and his family has bodark trees on their farm. Now I brought a whole tree of hedge back.
Wow,
So
that's pretty cool.
so it's literally broken down from a tree that fell about 2 years ago. Um, and I break it down even more. You know, I end up making it into a square 2x2 block, and then this goes on the lathe, and it's
Yeah.
shaped into my different parts here. Like here's an insert that's not cut yet. I've got the O-ring on there. I like an O-ring more than friction fit, just because friction fit can fall out a little easier, especially with wood, because wood is always changing. So I feel like with the
Right.
O-ring, you can at least give yourself a little cheat against that. But
So you said you went there and got that tree about a year and a half ago.
yeah,
So you have
so
to do like any treatment to the like? Is it just sitting out in your backyard, like the trunks? Like is it just sitting in
yeah,
your backyard?
yeah,
You have to do
yeah.
like, do
So
you have to do any treatment to the wood, or you just leave it out in the weather and just kind of and it's okay?
I put I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's a sealer. I put it on so like a
Oh,
wax
okay.
sealer.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
put it on the end grain. So if you think of a tree,
Hmm.
and the way that the water moves through the tree, it's like a bunch of
Right.
straws, you know, moving
Yep.
north and south. So when
Yeah.
you cut it, you cut those straws. That moisture is trying to move out of the ends of the tree there. So
Hmm.
when you cut, you just go ahead and man, I can't for the life of me think of the sealer, the name of the sealer, but I got 5 gallons sitting here next to my leg. But yeah, so you paint that on, and it just slows the
Yeah.
process. It doesn't let it cure too fast and crack, and just helps out with
That's
things.
really cool that
So-
you make all that out of the wood you have there. That's really cool. But
So-
go ahead, Ben.
So is
Sorry.
that wood, is that the best type of wood to make a wood call out of? And if it's not, what is the best type of wood? Like what kind of wood are you looking for?
So my all-time favorite combination is African blackwood for the tonal, and hedge for the barrel. I think hands down, it makes the best sounding call next to a hard rubber call. But if we're talking about wood, a African blackwood insert, you can't beat it. The same with hedge. It's the hardest, or hedge or bodark. It's the hardest wood in North America. So it's a lot of guys have a love-hate relationship with it, because it will crack on you if you don't cure it right. But that's part of my process. I went and got the tree myself. I cut it up myself.
Yeah.
I sealed it, and it's sitting and curing in a timely manner. So just trying to control that.
So one question I got is, it just popped in my head. I had a Duck Commander wooden call, and I don't know why. I don't remember what exactly the name of the call was, but the call, the insert actually fell out, and I lost that little rubber stopper, so I could never get the reeds back in it. But
Yeah.
and I had a crack when it would get cold. There would be a crack that would form down the side of the call, and I had trouble really getting the pressure, through the call, because it would all just squeak right out the side of the call.
Yeah.
So what causes that? I'm sure if I'd have contacted Duck Commander, I'm sure they probably would have worked it out with me. But what causes that, and how could somebody prevent it if that was to occur to them?
Well, the biggest thing is, especially with a wood call, it's going to move. No matter what you do, it moves with the temperature of the climate. The biggest thing that I like to tell guys, when you're hunting and it's cold, keep your calls kind of tucked in your jacket a little bit. If they're out and they're just swinging around, banging around, and they're cold, you're going to crack the wood. So you'll see a jacket manufacturer will come up, have a little call pocket, and you might think that's kind of corny or whatever, but it's actually doing you a favor if you can keep them tucked in there.
So does that happen
too?
So does that happen after the call has cracked, or was the call, separating because the change in temperature?
It's just wood doing wood, man. It's
Right.
It's the change in temperature. It's going to crack on you, and no matter what you do, unless you kept it in the same climate as when you got it, it's always going to move on you, or try to be cracked. And that's why I like the denser woods, like African blackwood. African blackwood is used to make like clarinets and bassoons and all kinds of woodwind instruments. So, the duck call is just another woodwind instrument. It's just another.
Yeah.
If you think of those, it's a reed. It's got a exhaust on it. It's got a way to, play it. And the duck call is no different. It's got a way to, you can change the throat of it to change the sound. You can change the size of the reed, the way it's shaped, tone board. So. A lot of guys who are musically inclined are really good callers because they can just hear the sound that they're trying to make.
Right.
Right.
So with that, I know people who buy a new call every year. You know what I mean? Some of those people, they're out there buying calls, looking for new calls all the time. And I've had the same call since I was 17 years old. I still to this day, and it's just a small town or small time little shop that made them back home. They never went on a national stage, and it's still the best cause that I use, to this day, 9 years later. So What are some tips for people, that feel like their calls are always wrong? They always have something wrong with their calls. They always got to buy something new. What are some tips for maintaining them and keeping that call for a long period of time and not having to change them out all the time?
Yeah, if you're not too familiar with call making, and just send it back to the guy who made it, once a year. I guarantee that call maker is going to want to shine it up, make it look brand new, make it sound, like $1,000,000, because, I just know any call coming out of my shop is going to reflect on me. So it'd be the same thing. It's kind of like when guys trade calls on Facebook or whatever, and you get someone that sends it back and you go to blow it and you're like, holy cow, somebody just sounds like a blue wing teal call because they trying to fiddle with the read or whatever. I'd start there first. The other thing you could do is give it a good oil soak and kind of buff it out yourself, but just learning how to operate the call, and the parts, and knowing when you need to change your cork in your call, when the read in a call is not really going to blow unless you're blowing a call 365 days a year. If you keep the read the same and don't adjust the tone board, you're going to use the same read. But changing that cork out once a week when you're hunting, that'll keep it nice and fresh. You got to think about it. The wetter the cork is, the stronger it's going to hold that read against the back of the tone board, the better the call is going to sound. And so, if you're hunting 4 or 5 days in a row, maybe out west or something like that, and you come back and you throw it in your blind bag, and that cork dries out, and you go to blow it again, it's not going to sound the same. You have to take it out and either chew on that cork and get it wet, or just throw a new cork in there. So,
Right. And so the same guys will end up, the same guys think they've got to buy a call and tune it that day, and from my perspective, when I'm buying a call, I feel like it should be tuned to be ready to use when I purchase it. But I know other people,
yeah,
they
100%.
have their things that they want to do. So what do you think about? I mean, do you think that your calls should be made, to be able to be used by anybody the day that they buy them, or do you think you need to tune it to fit your specific needs?
Yeah, I'd rather have someone come stand next to me in the shop and tell me how they want to blow a call, and me tune it to how they want to blow it. Some guys are throaty, some guys are know how to control that air, and depending on how someone presents their air, I want to make my call work best for them. My thought when I was making calls is, I kind of started out, I wanted to make a call for that, the average guy could blow. And I've got to a point where I've got my own jig now. And so I feel pretty confident on what comes out of the shop. It's just those little minor tweaks. Every tone board's not the same when you cut it. So it's just those little, minor tweaks that that'll help make it sound the best. And, it's going to fit the caller themselves. So, yeah, for sure. I'd rather have somebody come stand next to me as I'm cutting it and tuning it, and making sure that it's getting how they want it.
So, like what Ben was saying, I had a Duck Commander call just like that too. It was a wooden barrel, then it was like a plastic bell.
Yeah.
And the same thing, actually happened when I was with Ben. Like it fell apart, and I found all the pieces. I put it back together, and it was not even remotely close to the same sounds. Obviously, it was what it was before it fell apart. So, is there any like tricks of the trade or anything like that to actually putting a call back together and tuning it yourself out in the field, or is it just kind of have to have some experience to it and kind of know what you're doing?
Well, the biggest thing is, so like for instance, here's an insert that I've got that I'm working on right now. I haven't even dog-eared it yet, just started blowing it to see how it sounds. But when you pull the cork, when you pull the reed and the cork out, I always want to pull the reed out, or pull the reed out first. The cork should come second. But just make sure, number one, when you go to put the reed back in, it's got some flex to it. It's got
Right.
some memory to it. So when you have your tone board here, you want that flex outward, so that when the air comes up over the radius here, it's going underneath the reed.
Gotcha.
That's number one. Make sure you got your flex right. Make sure it's seated all the way down into the channel.
Mm-hmm.
If you can see that there.
Yeah.
Because if it's sitting up, it's going to be flat. It's going to sound flat. So if you get it all the way down the channel like the call maker made it, and then if you got a J frame and you got cork, chew on the cork and pop it in. You always really want to make sure that it's wet. This has been wet because I've been tuning calls a little bit today. But just make sure that reed is flexing out. Make sure it's seated all the way down. Now, I know you guys are talking about Duck Commander. That's like a Louisiana style
Yeah.
call. So it's got a wedge to it, and it's got your reeds to it. It's the same thing. Make sure those reeds are all the way down, and make sure that wedge is all the way seated down.
So I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just the same thing. As you slide it in, make sure it's seated right.
I think that was the thing that reason why I couldn't get it ever right is because I think I lost the wedge, and then I looked everywhere to find a replacement, and then they just couldn't. It's probably one of those things like they probably don't make them, so you buy another call type deal. But I mean, I'm sure I could find them. I looked hard enough, but yeah, I could never find it.
Yeah, if you called down there, they'd send you one for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they got enough parts.
So I see. I worked at Gander Mountain, and I always hear people in the back just blowing on calls all day, every day, and you have the ones like the cheap Duck Commander ones, or like the little zinc pH ones that come in. They're like $10, $20, whatever it is, and then you have ones like in the cases, right? So what's really like? What are you really getting when you buy that one like that's a nice one in the case versus one out of like a package?
Depending on who the maker is, on what the material is. I mean, number one, you're getting the years of experience in making the call. A lot of the places I sell to a store downtown here in Charleston, and they're all either custom kind of one-off calls, or they're calls that are what I call kind of the Hunter series, where it's hedge and African blackwood. But the calls that are in the case, it's kind of the same with the nice knives that are in the case, and then custom guns and stuff like that. It's when you spend a little extra money, you're getting a little more quality sound. You're not getting a molded parts and pieces that came from China and that were assembled, and maybe somebody blew on it real quick to make sure it made a sound and threw it in the box.
So it sounds like a duck.
Yeah.
So what are some of the materials that differentiate between, like your cheap $10, $15 calls, your $40, $50 calls, and your $100 calls?
Yeah. So for me in the custom world, you've got different types of wood that's a lot of times been treated. The guys will put a vacuum on them, and they'll impregnate the wood with resin. I've got a couple calls here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. So this is a block. You can't really see it, but it's been double dyed, and it's a burled wood. So this blanket by itself was like $40.
Just that block itself.
Kind of the cost. Yeah, just that. I mean, I've got some clear burl here that you could probably see a little better.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yep.
So that'll be made into a call, but like just stuff like that on the custom side, and then you've got the acrylics. You know, they're not getting any cheaper. Usually a good acrylic call is anywhere from 120 to 150 bucks. You know, the guys like RNT or Echo and stuff, they've got the CNC machines and they can pump it out and make it fit into the big box stores because they're not the ones standing behind the lathe turning it anymore. So,
All right.
but they still do customs, but you know, so you got your higher end woods, you got your acrylic, and then you got your like Delrin and other plastics that probably is what that molded those molded calls
Yeah.
are made from.
So do you make goose calls as well, or are you just do ducks?
So yeah, I've got some guts that they're kind of some generic guts that you know, goose calls are a little different than duck calls. Duck calls,
Yeah.
you kind of cut your teeth and you make your own sound. Goose calls, there's only so many ways of making that sound. And so guys they'll make their own molds by breaking in calls, or they'll make their own molds by kind of adjusting how the reed sits, or how the guts are. But I've just got some generic guts, and I don't make many,
Yeah.
but the ones I do, I just that's one thing. You know, I grew up in Maryland. I didn't really hunt as much, but you know, there's always be guys with blowing a goose call that I kind of fiddle around with. So I actually knew how to blow duck and a goose call before I ever really got into hunting. And I knew how to blow a goose call just because friends of mine would bring them on camping trips and stuff like that, and we annoy our scoutmasters. Yeah.
So if
So like,
you
what
were to
kind of
make a,
call?
go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good. You're good. I talked
So,
enough.
so if you were, so if you were to make a call for a new hunter, or even just direct a new hunter to a call,
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
what advice would you give them?
For sure, if they're committed, I would say get a single reed duck call and learn how to blow it, because you've got your low bossy hens that you can get out of a single reed. You got some, you know, mid sounds that you can get out of a single reed, and you've got, you know, on top it'll clean up a little bit. You can blow those hail calls. You can get loud with it. You can cluck with it. You can you know, do speed chatter. It's If you learn how to operate a single reed, you can blow any duck call out there.
That's an awesome point. So I'm glad you said that because I learned on a double read.
Yeah,
And it took me, I don't want to say it took me an excessive amount of time, but it took me probably 6 months to really get comfortable on a duck call.
yeah,
But once I blew a single read, I started to figure it out a lot easier. And it actually took me running into a call maker at a call show in our local shop, and you know, him kind of he showed me how to blow a single read, and he showed me how to blow a goose call. And from
yeah.
that day forward, I got the basics down. But blowing a double read as a new hunter, I had a hell of a time trying to figure it out, and I never understood it. And even to this day, I really don't understand why. But as soon as I picked up a single read, I figured it out, and now I hunt with double reads, you know, all the time. But you know, when I was new, I could not blow a double read, and I don't. Could you shed some light on like why a new hunter might struggle with a double read?
Well, I think a new hunter is probably, they're just so excited to have a call, to have that thought. You know, for me, the idea of blowing a call and having an animal react, and then getting in a position where you can harvest the animal. I mean, that's just the top. So, you know, if you've got a new hunter, they're going to be so excited, they're not going to know that air pressure right away. So, depending on the call, single read, double read. I mean, a double read, a lot of guys can get away with grunting into the call a little bit more, being a little more throaty with it, and still, you know, they don't have to present the air like you would in a single read. And a single read, I mean, you've got to present that air correctly. I tell guys that are starting out, there's a million videos on YouTube. I don't necessarily like the videos of the guys that tell you to make a certain word sound.
Right.
But I like the analogy of, if you're standing in front of a mirror and you fogged the mirror, that air is coming from your diaphragm and you're kind of fogging up like a general area on the mirror. Now, when you're blowing through a call, you got to pressurize that air, and it's got to blow, through this into the mirror. And when you blow on that mirror, it's got to be 5/8 inch around on that mirror. That's how you pressurize it. So, to me, that's what I would start a new hunter out with, is just making that initial quack, figuring out how to do that, then piecing it together where you can make a couple cadences, then maybe try to work on the feed call. And then from there, you can go as crazy with it as you want. I mean, those top callers in the world, they can blow the crap out of it. I mean, those guys that other than this COVID year, those guys that go travel and blow in different contests, I mean, they're just world class. So they can pretty much manipulate it to do whatever it needs to do.
Right. So you said single, double. Is there? I mean, I know diaphragm calls for turkeys. They have like triple reads. Is there anything like that for ducks, or is it just the single and the double? And then I assume when you're talking, you prefer the single reads over the double, correct?
Yeah. So I know Duck Commander makes a triple read. I think there's a couple other call makers that did it. Basically, the more reads you put in there, you're ending up with just one sound. You're not really able to. You can't really get a bot. You're just ending up with a bottom end quack. If you think of the old Jensen call, it had one sound to it. And that's just a double read, and it's killed 1 million ducks. So I mean, in the field, there's no. Hunting a double read in the field is fine. I mean, you're really trying to, just be a different voice to attract the bird. I mean, whether you're wanting to sound like a young bird, an old bird,
right?
Or having a call where you can sound like both. I mean, that's basically my 2 cents on it. So
say you've got a double read call, and
Mhm.
you want to try to switch it up. What happens if you take one of those other reads out and you try to blow it as a single read?
If the call maker is good at what they do, you can do it very easily. You can take it out. You might have to add a little longer read, because what you're going to find is in the double read, they're going to bore that out more, so you can get more air going through the call to be able to make more sounds. But if the call maker knows what they're doing, you can pretty much pull one of those reads out, and it becomes a single read.
Cool. What's your favorite call to make? It could be a certain style, or making one from scratch like you were showing us, or kind of getting some parts together and making one your own.
I like any call that I can find the wood myself and chop it into a block and make a call.
Yeah.
I've got some cherry here that fell in my neighbor's yard in the last hurricane, and it's just about primed to make a few calls. So
how long do you wait?
So here's what I do. A lot of guys will stick a moisture meter in there, and I feel like you're not really getting the true. You're not really finding out what the true moisture content is. I've got a little scale that I measure epoxy on, and I'll go ahead and measure, and I'll write the date on it, and come back a month later and weigh it again. If it's less, then I know it's still losing water, and if it kind of bottoms out and doesn't lose any more water, then I know it's probably ready to turn. So
it's pretty smart. You're a pretty smart guy, old Joey.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
That's right. Yeah, right. Man.
Yeah, so we've asked a lot about the call making process, but so let's talk a little bit about what you've got going on with your calls. So what do you got, man? So and what would you recommend to somebody out of what you make, and what do you got coming down the road?
I've been trying to. So I make I modify Olds for a cut down. Right now, what I've got prototypes going. I've got um, my own cut down that I'm trying to make. That's kind of just like a J-frame style. Trying to kind of put my own shape to it. So trying to mirror that, and then I've got slope very similar, but it's just you can see the difference in the well, they're both considered J frames, but you can see the difference in the molded call. Got
Right.
that bigger cork slot. I don't know if you can see that or not because of
So
this.
you mainly make, do you only make wooden calls, or do you mess around with like the some like the plastics or acrylics?
No, I've got Delrin, I've got acrylic, I've got ebonite. I mean, if you can put it on a lathe and turn it,
Yeah.
I'll try to make a call out of it. I've
So
got
you're pretty much
some,
just trying to cater to the customer, I guess, huh? If they want a certain material, I guess.
yeah. Most of my calls that I make, guys will call me and just say, hey, I want a wood call. What do you recommend? And I'll kind of steer them towards the hardwoods. Got some guys downtown that have lived in Charleston their whole life that I made a batch of calls for, and they wanted some calls out of a this cherry tree that fell downtown that was in the neighborhood where they grew up in, and so I took that and
Pretty cool.
made 4 calls for them, and it kind of they're blind that goes and hunts in the same spot down in the Ace, and they all have similar calls from a cherry tree from the
Pretty
neighborhood.
cool.
So that's kind of cool.
Awesome, man.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I mean it's such a blast. I enjoy a custom call because I get to make it custom. I've done a CNC run of African Blackwood, and it sold okay, and I had to cut every single tone board, but I've also learned I probably don't want to do that. Going forward, I probably want to get just one order at a time and do it that way, unless I can find some more hours in the day. But I don't know. We'll see if I can get this cut down that I'm trying to get right. I might make a little CNC line of that, but we'll see. I've been working on the blue wing teal call. That's kind of hit or miss. I'm hoping to hunt it in 2 or 3 weeks here. I guess, what is it? 3 weeks now. And
Yeah.
we'll see if it starts.
Creeping
So,
up.
Man, that's crazy. South Carolina, you got 3 weeks. I still got 4 weeks. Man, how are you guys 2 states below me, and your teal season's opening?
Hey,
Can you shoot wood ducks Can you shoot wood ducks during teal season
Man, I
up
wish.
there in Bend?
We cannot shoot wood ducks. We have an early season, October, basically a weekend. I think it's the second or third week, second weekend in October. We have an early season where you can shoot everything but black ducks, but pretty much all you shoot is wood ducks. But yeah, man, how does that happen? South Carolina is opening teal season a week before Virginia.
Come down and
get you on
hunt.
some blue wings. Yeah, it's usually pretty good.
So Joey, if let's say opening morning comes around in November, whatever, what's on your lanyard? How many calls? What kind of calls?
Depends where I'm hunting, but I've got my goose prototype that'll usually be there. I've got my J frame, my Paulus. I've got my cut down that'll be there. I've got another call maker in Santee area. His name's Hugh with Big Lake calls. He
Mhm.
makes a pintail whistle that is pretty hard to beat. You can do the mallard dweep on it. You can do, widgeon, teal.
Right. So I think I've always thought that like that Drake whistle, that 6-1, that little 6-1 call was actually like really underrated. How like I don't think a whole lot of people would really blow it during actual duck season, especially at mallard. So how like do you think that's a very underrated call to have on your lanyard when it comes around season, or do you think it's just like just whatever? What do you think?
So my idea on calling in the blind is, for sure your best caller probably needs to be the one calling the shot, and they're usually the veteran guy in the blind.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be reading the birds. You don't necessarily need 4 people sticking their face up at the ducks as they're trying to work.
Right.
And the other thing is, depending on the situation, just with not every call sounds the same and not every caller sounds the same. So,
Right.
if you go listen to a bunch of ducks sitting on the water, they don't all sound the same. So,
Yeah, for sure.
you've got to, if for instance, you're hunting in A space and salt marsh, you've got to have a little quicker cadence to your mallard call, because you're probably calling it gadwall more than mallards, and you've got to have probably a gadwall call. That duck commander gadwall call is probably one of the best things going if you hunt in South Carolina. If you've got you're hunting in the Ace Basin or the Santee, you probably got a pintail or 2 or some widgeon working. I mean, for me, I want to be representing what's in front of me. So
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not hunting, a dozen mallards. And that's it. And like 6 mojos. I'm hunting. My coastal ducks are out in front of me. I'm not going to tell you how many decoys I put out, because that's going to help me get some more birds in my spread. But it's not a small spread. I'll just say that. But I will give up a couple of the things that some guys have passed on to me is on the coast, anytime you can hunt decoys that have some white in them, so like pintails and widgeon are pretty good decoys to have out. Gadwall, pretty good decoy to have out. If you were to think of what it looks like from above you, those whites and blacks are sticking out. So you have a couple pairs of black ducks sticking in your spread too, and it's gonna just that contrast. But going back to the calls, I'm trying to have one person lead everything, and maybe someone's blowing a 6-1 whistle, and someone's hitting a little teal peep, and someone's beeping at the gadwall, and it sounds like a bunch of ducks sitting on the water.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Yeah, so that 6-1 call, man, that's an amazing thing. I think Levi and I, we had a hunt 2 years ago where we got set up, and we were on this river, and we were just expecting to maybe shoot like a diver that maybe came by, and we weren't expecting to really shoot anything that was gonna be substantial. We weren't expecting to work birds. We were expecting to have a diver maybe buzz the decoys. So we get set up, and we out on the main channel of the river, all we hear is pintail and widgeon. We're like, we weren't prepared for that. I mean, and it's a tidal river, so I mean, we were expecting, by the time sun came up, they would follow the current and be out. So, but no, I mean, come sun up, I mean, they're still sitting out there. Probably, what was it, 250, 300, just pintail.
That huge raft.
Out there. Yeah, it was a huge raft. I mean, they were just hanging out there. So we ended up shooting.
They were safe.
Yeah, we ended up shooting.
They were too far.
we ended up shooting a couple of widgeon that day, and we worked a couple groups of widgeon. And had we not had our 6-1s, we had never shot a bird that day. And so those 6-1s, man, if you don't have one on your call, you're definitely missing out on bird opportunities, because we'd have gone home skunked that day if we didn't have them. And we ended up shooting a couple of widgeon. Actually, the one Levi's got behind him and the one I got behind me.
Yeah.
We're both shot
Yeah.
that day.
That's awesome.
And then kind of like what
That's
you were
awesome.
saying, like if there is someone that's just getting into duck hunting or isn't just the strongest caller, I mean, the 6-1 is an awesome call. If they want to be involved and if they want to help, you know, I mean, I'm the 6-1 guy. You guys have been. I'm the one that's just has that Drake whistle or just the pintail, whatever. I mean, that's pretty much all I'm good for.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an awesome tool.
I got a little prototype whistle I've been working on. It's not there yet. It's just one of many.
We can't get a live sound bite off it.
Let's see here. The tone board for that is not glued in. Let me see if I can find one
Okay. No worries.
that I've got here. I got all kinds of stuff sitting on the bench right now. Let me see.
So, Mr. Joey, where can people find you if they listen to this podcast and they say, you know what, I think Joey's a good dude. I want to buy a call from him. Where can they find you?
Well, number one, I'd try to coax them here to the shop in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm on James Island. If you can't get to the shop, I've got a website, tectongamecalls.com. I've got a few calls up on the site right now. Really need to do a better job of keeping that updated, but I also got the social media pages, Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Instagram's been my new thing because it's just eye candy and no politics. So
you on
Right.
Instagram at Tecton Game Calls or Joey D'Amico?
Tecton Game Calls, yeah.
Cool, man.
So, but yeah, I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to expand the brand a little bit. I've got some hats and shirts and stuff now, and so just one little bite of the elephant at a time, basically.
Right. So, all you listeners that don't know, we're actually doing once we get 500 likes on Facebook, we're actually be giving away one of Mr. D'Amico's calls. Is there a call in there that will be given away? They can give just a little soundbite and not blow our ears out or anything? Or, if it's not, it's fine. I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but
let me see here. I've got a hold on one second. I've got a hedge call that I've been working on.
So the real question is, how long did your wife get used to you blowing duck calls in the garage every night?
So it's funny you say that. It's 9:25 right now. I literally have 5 more minutes
Before bedtime?
I get at 9:30 it stops. The racket stops. So most of my tuning I do on the weekends and between the hours of 8:30 and 9:30. So anyways, yeah. So let me give y'all a little.
So if you're wearing headphones, this is just a little precautionary, there's a little warning. He's about to give us a little sound bite on a duck call. So
let me take mine out real quick. Hold on one second.
there you go. Sounds way better than me or you, Ben. That's for sure.
Yeah, we don't make calls for a living.
Yeah, right.
Hell yeah, man, that's awesome. So
what's that made out of?
So that was a
Sorry,
hedge. Yeah, see if you can get it in the light here. Hedge, single reed. It's I've kind of been teasing some of the guys that I made some calls with earlier. or made calls for earlier. You know, I think if you talk to every call maker, they're all going to say the same thing. They wish they had like the first few calls they ever made back, and you're always
Yeah.
getting better. So you kind of always wish that guys would come back and buy from you and get the next best thing. So, but this one is this is my 2020 version. It's got a little shorter exhaust to it, bored out a little bit different. Same tone board. It's got a little shorter barrel to it. Let's see if I can find it. One of the older ones. So I don't know if you can see here. This is a little taller barrel.
Yeah.
They're not as responsive, but easier for the average guy to blow. This one, a little shorter barrel, more responsive, can kind of get more ducks out of it. Pretty good feed chatter. Yeah, so been trying to keep my dimensions from this call going. I made this call back in January, and
That call looks about as good as it sounds too. It's a good looking call.
Yeah. So
I appreciate
so how,
it. Yeah, little
So how
slipper
long
band
does it
and
take for
everything
you
on it.
to sell
Yeah.
a call after you make it?
Or even just put one
Sure.
together.
Yeah. What's your typical timeline from the time you start, to the time you get it done to the time you're selling it?
Yeah, so I probably am right about 4 hours or so, start to finish on a call. That's going from cutting a block of wood to shaping it, letting it soak in oil for a little bit, and coming back and cutting the tone board the following day usually, and tuning it, buffing it, and putting it in a box and sending it to somebody. So, it's just my time to get in the shop here and relax a little bit. Yeah, but I would say usually about 4 hours a call, especially on a custom call, which might have some inlays or some tips. This call here, I don't know if you can see this. This is from some oak that fell on Johns Island from the angel oak tree, and it's got
Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
got African blackwood tips and band, and
It's a really good looking call.
it's sleeved in African blackwood too. So
Is that one for sale?
it will be here shortly. I just got to get her finished up. But yeah, most guys either contact me and then I make them to their spec, or when I get time to make a couple extra calls, I throw them online and see what happens. So
It's awesome.
I've also Grady Irvin downtown. They've got about 8 or 10 calls of mine in stock right now. I actually talked to Chip this week and planning on going down and putting some new corks in those calls and getting them ready for the season. So I might have to do some swapping out if any calls don't make the cut after sitting in the shop for a little bit.
So what is someone if someone's going to buy a call from you? What are they buying from you, vice someone else?
So, what do you mean? Say that one more time.
So like if someone's going to buy a call from you, like what are they going to get buying from Joey D'Amico, vice, going to Gander, or another call maker? Like what are they going to get from you, vice someone else that you think that would really separate you?
Like I say, I want the person. I'd rather them stand next to me when I make the call. But if not, I'm trying to make it the best call that they can blow. I haven't been in this game about 5 years or so, so I can't tell you there's 30 years of experience there. But I'm at it every day, and I'm always trying to get better. So. You're gonna see a little better quality than something that came from China that was put together by some guys just sitting in the room cutting up. So
one last question that I've got for you is one what material, would you, or how do you make a call for different types of situations? Because I know there's tons of different calls out there for a million different situations. So the manufacturer says, um, I'm interested in that, and then the other one that I'm interested in is what do you say to? And I don't believe this by any means whatsoever, but there's people out there that do think that. But a call maker from South Carolina versus a state of Arkansas or those kind of states. Those are the two things that I'm the last two things that I'm interested in right now, man.
Yeah. So I'll start with the latter. The one awesome thing about Arkansas and Louisiana and Illinois and the Eastern Shore of Maryland with Sean Mann and all those guys, you've got such heritage there and pride in call making. I think I can count maybe eight or 10 guys in South Carolina that make calls. Brad Samples, Chris Owens, Hugh McLaurin with Big Lake. You've got the Waterfowl Company, Daryl Newman. There's a guy down in Hilton Head that just friended me the other night on Facebook. His name I can't remember, but you've got I would say maybe a dozen to 15 guys that are in South Carolina that make calls. In Arkansas, you got that in one county.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Same with Louisiana. Everybody can. This is the heritage is there. I think in South Carolina, the duck hunting heritage is there, but it's been not that there's no pride in making your own calls or making your own decoys or your own boat or whatever, but I think it's been more in the land and the relationships than it has been in maybe the parts and pieces that make it. But yeah, I mean, I think the guys that make calls in South Carolina that's all they think about. And so you're getting the same quality as you would from someone in Arkansas. Our disadvantage is if I want to run something by Brad Samples, I got to drive up to Spartanburg for the day, or Chris Owens is in Florence. And so, nobody's close. You kind of follow some of those guys on Call Nuts or other forums online, and they're in like I say, in the same county, or they see each other at call contests, or they're pulling up to the ramp next to their buddies, or going to play golf with them and hanging out in the shop. I don't get that. I don't get that advantage. But
Right.
I would say the people in South Carolina that make calls, they're very passionate about it. And then the first question you were asking was material for the situation. Is that right?
Yeah. So like, I mean, you have some people who believe, acrylic is going to be your louder, more big water type calls.
Yeah.
And you have some other people
sure,
that are going to
Street.
be, yep. And you have some people who believe, your wood calls are going to be a little bit more timber, a little more raspy, a little more softer calling. And I honestly, I've ran a poly call for the last, 7 years and about 9 years in about every scenario. And I haven't found a situation where my specific call for that fits me, that I can't make it work. I mean, there's probably some things, where it's, or I could probably have a call maybe be a little more effective or have a little more of a sound that I want to have. But with my specific one, I can make it work. I've learned it enough to the point where I can manipulate it. But what do you do, and how do you help people find, what material or what type of call, or even what type of call, or even the calls that you have, that you make, and how do you tailor them to each specific different type of
Yeah.
scenario?
So a lot of it comes down to more or less how it's bored out, how much hold or back pressure is in a call. You know, a call with a little more back pressure is going to be easier for your average or beginner to blow. I've got a guy that I hunt with, and that is one of the guys that I give a call to whenever I tweak. And he wants hardly any back pressure. It's just the way he blows it. He wants it wide open, and he wants to be able to dial it back with the air pressure. He hunts in Arkansas a good bit, but you know, that's just his style. And so I know when I make a call, I know exactly how to tune it for him. You know, he's going to want a longer read with bigger dog ears, and he's going to want it bored out as much as I can. And so, you know, it just comes down to tailoring it for people and how they want to blow the call. And if they want to get better, if they want to work on it, then I'll give them a call that can give them 3 ducks in a fast feed. And, you know, if they're just an average guy that hunts 10 times a year and they just want an average, you know, call, you know, I'll give them a average, you know, easy to blow call or a double read. You know, it's just basically however they want it. So,
So
you know,
I got. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm saying, you know, softer materials like cedar and cypress, they're going to give you a mellower sound, but it's not really going to change the volume, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Volume and hold comes from the exhaust of the call, and basically from the cork notch down. You know, that's where that volume comes from. So, what are you saying?
I got 2 questions as well, just to close out the show. So like when you first got into it, I guess if you were to ask someone like another call maker, either in South Carolina or just, I don't know if it really makes a difference in state versus out of state, but if you had a question and you asked someone else like a question just about making like the tuning board or something like that, were they pretty open to help you, or is it like there's like a I'm not going to tell you my secrets type deal within the call making?
So here's how I'd answer that. The guys that are truly putting in effort to make a better tone board, to be the best call they can make,
Right.
They're going to be recognized. And when you, like, I've sent many inserts off to call makers. You got Stump up in North Carolina. I just got some feedback from him a month ago or so, and he's not going to tell me what to do to make my call better.
Yeah.
He's going to tell me the characteristics that my call has.
I got you.
And he's going to tell me, you know, you need to, you know, put a little attention towards this. You know, Michael Meredith, who is with MIG Custom Calls in Arkansas, I sent him a insert probably 4 or 5 months ago. I mean, he sat and did the whole video for me and walked me through some things.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell me what to do, you know, where to sand or what you know, what the radius should look like or any of that stuff. So I mean, 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, you didn't have any of that. And then I guess maybe with the advent of the internet and guys kind of posting some stuff, you get a little bit more help. But honestly, the call making community is very close knit, and you know, if as long as you're not stuffing barrels with echo inserts, you're probably going to get some pretty decent feedback from folks.
I think that's pretty fair though. Like they're still helping you out, but they're not going to just plain out give you the answer. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean that's
Well, I mean,
awesome. I mean you don't find that in many markets.
Right.
Honestly, I mean you
no,
don't find that where people are able to help other people, and that's what's so amazing about waterfowling, right? And I've
yeah,
said this in our last two episodes. The
First two.
most amazing thing, or yeah, our first two, the most amazing thing about waterfowling is that is the community, the people that you share it with, and I think it even just shows just in the call in your experience in call making, that people aren't just going to give you the big middle finger. They're
yeah,
just they're gonna help you to an extent that still allows you both to benefit from the market, that's just amazing. I mean, no, I mean, in my opinion, and you're not going to find that in most markets, and just the waterfowling community is just an amazing community, and the waterfowling in general, and then you add, the people that you share it with, and it
yeah,
just makes it such an amazing thing, man.
yeah. I mean, it's the same for decoy carvers. We've got I think his name Tom Boozer down in Buford. He's one of the best carvers there's been in South Carolina, and I mean, most people will share their knowledge with you because they want to pass it on. They want to keep it going. And it's the same thing for call makers. I mean, if another call maker came to me and had questions, I'd 100% help them, because the
Hmm.
better they do and the more of a champion they can be for call making, the better it is for the whole community. So,
Right.
it's kind of the same thing. And like you say, the relationships and just the way waterfowling is pretty special. It's just it's such a great sport, and you know the friends you meet along the way, just it's like guys that you've known for 20 years. You sit down and talk to them for an hour. Just even we were out in North Dakota 2 years ago and sitting down talking to guys in the diner there, and just it's like we're all just one band of brothers. So
Yeah.
Yeah. The
good.
only diner in town, right? Probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there's two hotels. Well, the little town we can go to. I told you where we go, but the little town where we go to,
Yeah.
it's there's two hotels there and one diner and
Right.
one hardware store, and a guy that cleans ducks for $3.50 a pop. So
350.
yeah.
I'm sure he stays busy.
Oh, he stays really busy. Yeah, him and his
And
wife.
then
Yeah.
my final question is, if someone has been either in the hunting industry or just the waterfowl or duck making, whether they want to do it for like just running out of their garage, kind of like what you're doing, just kind of like on a personal scale,
Yeah.
or want to make it, they want to make it their everyday job, and they want, what I mean, what kind of tips would you give to someone thinking about getting into like making that their job, or just trying to put their foot in the door in the hunting industry in general? Because I mean, like I said last episode, is like I feel like growing up as a kid, at least people like us, like we're always like there's. I mean, that'd be the dream job. I mean, go around the world just killing critters everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it's pretty hard to get your foot in the door and be I would say really successful as money wise, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
what would
It's hard to do it full time.
right?
If you think about how many full time guys there are, there's probably less than 20 in the whole country
Hmm.
that are, making a good living at it.
Yeah.
Your RNTs, your Echoes, your Hay to Hell calls, Duck Commander.
Hmm.
You almost have to make it a brand.
Right.
Do shirts, do hats, do a clothing line, do some of the guys are doing coffee and beer and other
Yeah.
just other carpentry things. But I mean, I guess you just this business is about relationships and who you know, not what you know.
Right. Networking.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
networking's big. I know, and it's not underneath of it all, it's not as glamorous as what you and I probably hope it would be.
Right.
If I could quit and make calls full time and duck hunt and make videos and sell products, that'd be the dream job for sure. But
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're doing this at 8:30 at night. You know
yeah,
what I mean? I mean,
exactly.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the industry is a hard one to kind of crack the nut into, but
Right.
If you're doing the right things and you're keeping up with the right people and you're being honest and true, I think things can happen that'll benefit you.
So let's think like on a smaller scale, like lathes or like where have you found that would they could get wood or acrylic or anything anything you can. I don't want you I don't want you to give away all your secrets. That's not what we're here for.
Yeah.
Like I said, no one gave all their secrets to you when you're first starting. But what's some things that could get someone started? I guess too.
I think any call maker that started from 2010, 8, 9, 10, something like that on, probably starts with a Harbor Freight lathe. Same lathe I still turn on, just a Harbor Freight mini lathe, or any kind of, Chinese lathe that they're all made out of the same factory, just different paint schemes and label that gets slapped on it. But, mine's just a belt fed lathe. I mean, I got 5 speeds. I've got, I can drill on it if I need to, basically to get started in call making, you need a lathe, you need a couple different chucks. You need the knowledge of knowing how to break wood down properly. Maybe a miter saw, chop saw, a table saw or a bandsaw if you're cutting your own wood, bandsaw or a coping saw, just some simple things to create your tone board, drill press. I mean, it's like
it's in depth.
Peeling back it's like peeling back the onion, and you're always learning something new and figuring out, if I just had this, I can do this a little faster.
Yeah.
If I just had an arbor press, I wouldn't be hammering my bands on, or whatever it is. But no, I started in a barn with the lathe I got from Ty Botterford for $200, and I ordered a couple different chucks for it and some mandrels, and that's where I started. I drilled on my lathe. That's where it began. I was looking over to see if I had one of my first calls on the board over there. I don't think I see it anymore, but it's pretty ugly.
So I know you said you have a metal lathe too, right?
Yeah. So
is that something you got like over time, I guess? Like once you got a little bit more established?
Yeah, I mean, just, my big thing is this is a hobby that basically pays for itself. At this point, until I have books that, takes me a year to go through and make calls for people. Last year I made 175 calls. I made more calls than that, but I sold 175 calls. This year with Corona and all the shows being canceled and stuff, I think I'm at like 18 or 19 now, and I've probably cut 12 or 15 Olds or DJ call tonals. So it's been a slower season for me. Might be one or two less trips out west for me, but for the most part, it's provided when it's needed to provide. So I'll just
Absolutely.
That's
say
awesome,
that.
man.
So, yeah.
That's awesome, man.
But I really appreciate you coming on, spread with knowledge that you're willing to give out. And
Yeah.
like you said, people can find you on Facebook, right, and Instagram at Tecton Game Calls.
Yep.
And you live on James Island, correct?
Yeah, I'm on James Island here in Charleston.
For all the local guys.
Yeah, look me up. If I can help you before the season, let me know. I'll say it a third time, but I'd rather you stand right next to me while I'm making a call.
Right.
And I can make it your call than coming to me from 3 different trades because you didn't like the way it sounded, and then I go to blow it and it sounds like a teal call.
And then what's that
Awesome.
name of the shop that you have that you sell the calls out of downtown?
So it's called
store?
Grady Irvin, and he's got Chip Irvin owns that store. It's on King Street downtown. He's got a little gun room that's kind of like an invite only upstairs. He's got Duck Camp and Tom Beckby and all kinds of goodies in there that he sells. And I've been blessed that he has picked up a few of my calls and lets me have a spot in the shop and lets me have a spot during Seaweed to hang out with the fellas and push some calls. So
That's awesome, man.
It's been a good relationship. I'd like to put his name out there whenever I can. 'Cause
Absolutely.
he's been so good to me. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
But all right, everybody, that's going to wrap up this episode of Round the Blind. Like I said, keep an eye out on the Facebook page. So we are giving away one of Mr. D'Amico's calls once we hit 500 likes. Joey, I really appreciate you coming on. I've learned, I'm going to say this every episode, but I've learned a lot just talking to you, and a lot of stuff went over my head. I'll be completely honest with you. But
Well, you have to make a trip down to the shop here soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'll come by that Angel Oak tree call off you.
Yeah. I've been thinking about doing some call. So Josh Raggio is the call maker in Mississippi, and he does like a call makers night, and he basically gives lessons and talks about history of calls and just a way for guys to get together. And I was really hoping to do that in the summertime before the COVID hit.
Yeah.
And get some people together, but it'll be on my list once things aren't so weird.
Yeah, for sure. Everything clears up.
Oh yeah. Well, I really appreciate y'all having me on. And
absolutely, it's
and
our
talk
pleasure.
for a little bit. It's pretty easy for the time to fly when you're talking about stuff you really love. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man.
Or
Yeah,
when
man.
you're learning about.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the passion that you clearly have for what you do, man. I mean, I'm rooting for you, man. I'm not saying that you're struggling. I'm not implying that at all. But I 100%
No.
hope Tecton Game Calls takes off. I 100% hope that that people are spreading out outside of South Carolina. Across the country. Man, you're an awesome guy. You have a ton of passion for what you do, man, and I really, really hope that we can provide some kind of benefit to you specifically for having you on our show, man.
Yeah,
Maybe someone from Quincy will buy the cut down call.
I'll do a little Quincy cut for you. I think the other thing too with that Quincy cut is so a cut down reed is a little thicker. And the Quincy cut is like the thickest. It's like almost a piece of like
plywood.
No, I mean, I wish I had a reed. It's like 20 thousandths or something like that thickness. It's like real thick.
Yeah.
You think about a double reed is like a 10 thousandths and a 7 thousandths or something like that. So, anyways. Now I appreciate y'all having me on and spending the time together, and maybe try to find our way to a blind this coming season would be fun.
For sure,
I'm
man.
trying to get Ben to come down.
Yeah, with this COVID, man, we got we're on restriction of movement for a little bit. We got to have
Yeah.
approval to go wherever we're going. So we will. I would love to make it down there and share a blind with y'all, man.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Be fun. All right.
All
Well,
right.
y'all have a
Well,
good night.
yes, sir. You too.
You too, man. Take it easy.
We'll talk to you soon.
Man, I think about 80% of what he was saying straight over my head. Absolutely over my head. That man, he is smart. He went from playing golf professionally to I think he works construction now. I don't know if he owns it or if I know he works at it, and now he makes his own duck calls and decoys. Man is smart. Absolutely, like
Yeah.
he's a really smart guy. But yeah, I think actually, I think I took that duck commander call to him since I've been down here, and he actually fixed it up for me. It actually sounded really good. I think it sounded better when he did it, Vice, buying it from, I think it was Bass Pro there in Hampton. But
Yeah, man.
yeah, Joey's a really good dude. He's just an honest working man. But yeah, if you guys are in the market for a call, or if you have a question about calls, feel free to hit him up. Tecton Game Calls, and like he said, I think he didn't. I think I floated him like $10 for him to really sit there and work on that call. Man, he's not trying to gouge anyone out, but like he said, he's like us, man. He just generally enjoys the sport and talking ducks. So
Yeah, 100%, guys. Go ahead, check out Tecton Game Calls. Go over to Instagram, Facebook, all social media sites. Check him out. He's a hell of a guy. And to be honest with you, I mean, I just met him today. We talked a little bit before we came on.
yeah,
And he's an amazing guy. And he leaves a first impression that is 100% worth going and giving your business to.
yeah,
And so I recommend go and check him out. And I obviously, I've never tried his product, but just the passion that he speaks with, the passion that comes off of with what he's doing and what he's saying, man, that if his product is anything like the passion he comes out with, it's going to
right.
be top of the line. It's going to be just as
It,
good
it is.
as anything that you can go buy. And that's the kind of stuff you're looking for when you're
Right.
when you're looking for quality. So I 100%. I'm like I said, I've been blowing the same call for the last 7 years, and my next call I plan on going talking to Mr. Joey DeMico.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
100%, guys. So I recommend going checking this dude out because he's a hell of a guy.
And I met him because I bought an outboard from him for my boat last year. And
Yeah.
like even after I bought it from him and I had it titled my name, he had anytime I asked him a question or anything like that, he was always super helpful. Like, I mean, he doesn't have to give me the time of day at that point. I mean, money was already transferred, but he's just a really stand-up guy. So
Right.
that's another reason why I wanted to go through him for the call giveaway. Because I know a lot of our following is in like the east side, like South Carolina, Virginia area. So if someone did want to have their call tuned for them, like I said, he's right here, local or local-ish, depending on where you're at. So I mean, and he said that's his favorite thing to do, is sit there and say, "Well, I don't know, this doesn't feel right." And you're like, "Okay." And then he'll kind of mess with it and give it back to you. That's what exactly the same thing he did with me. I mean, I don't really know that. Like I said, I don't know super in depth. Like when it comes to tuning a call or making it, making it sound one way or another. I mean, I can make a duck call or duck sounds, somewhat of a duck sound. But he was like, "How does that sound?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know." He's like, "It sounds fine, I guess." And he's like, "Well, I don't like it." I'm like, "Okay." then he went back. We went back like it was like 10, 15 minutes. And then he was like, all right, that sounds good. I'm like, all right, cool. Thanks, man. I don't know what you did, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But
yeah, guys.
guys, we're going to have combat waterfowl on later this week. We're going to talk about flying outdoors. We kind of touched on it in previous episodes. Talk about that. Talk about the business side. We're going to touch on a little bit more than what we did with Mr. Joey, about how they started their company. While, I mean, Cody, he's still active duty. So, I mean, being active duty in itself is a full-time job, much less launching another company, like a whole company from the ground up. So, he started the Alaska chapter for TFO. So we can pick his brain a little bit about Alaska trips and just the West Coast in general. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to that episode too.
Yeah, guys. So remember to check us out on Facebook, and then so our Twitter is the Bow Hunting Vet. Go check that one out. And then our YouTube is the Bow Hunting Vet as well. That's where we post all of our podcasts, and we got our podcasts on all of the regular podcast sites. Apple, Google, Spotify, any podcast site that you might be using, our podcast is going to be on there. So subscribe. Make sure you like our Facebook. We're going to pin our last post on Facebook, or our last episode on Facebook, so y'all can check that out. But we have been blown away with the amount of support and the amount of
absolutely
that we have had with our first two episodes. I mean, we're starting off. I mean, just two guys that nobody knows, and the amount of
I know
views,
a little bit about duck hunting.
Yeah, and I mean the amount of views that you guys have given us, the amount of listens and downloads that you guys have given us, even subscribes, it's absolutely
on Apple.
amazing. Yeah, and we appreciate everything you guys are doing for us, and we're going to keep bringing the best content that we can provide to you guys. We also Levi also provides videos on the YouTube channel as well. So there is other content other than podcasts out there.
Right.
So check us out. We're going to be providing everything that we can for you guys. Be active on our Facebook page. Be active on our social media. Be active on our YouTube. Let us know what you guys want. We will, because we're not here. I love talking waterfowling, man, but and I can record myself talking about waterfowling as much as I want to, but if you guys aren't going to listen to it, I want to know what you guys want to listen to, because I can record myself talking about waterfowling no matter what it is. So let us know what you guys want to hear. As Levi said, on Thursday, this one is coming out Thursday or Friday, and then the next one will be coming out at the beginning of the week. We're starting 2 podcasts every week, so we're going to be giving you guys ample content to give you guys exactly what you guys want.
Right. Let us know too. Like I know one guy. His name's Dimitri. This man is he's only been duck hunting for a couple of years. I think maybe 5 or 6. I'm not sure. I could be underselling him, but I mean he messaged me, or he messaged the Facebook page, and you were just going back and forth, and you were asking about it, and that's where I got the. That's where he told me to check out the California. That little thing, that little tidbit of information I dropped last week with Matt, that how California is just leaps and bounds above most of the states on conservation, surprisingly. So I love it. I mean, again, please send us either DMs or comment, say you guys talk too long. I mean, or whatever. I mean, or you're not enough, or we want to see whatever. If you want a certain genre or niche, I guess, feel free to let us know, and we will do our absolute best to get them on. We're trying to cover
Yep.
all aspects of the waterfowling community, industry, and we're trying, like I said in the very first episode, we're trying to make this into a centralized location of information that anyone can come on at any given day of the week and get what they need for their either trip out west or just their duck season in general. So, I mean, it's kind of corny. I mean, a lot of the people in the military say all the time, but we really are here for you guys and trying to make your season better so you can kill more birds. And hopefully, when duck season does come in, please post pictures. I don't know I think only admins can create a post on the Facebook page, but go under whatever post on our page, post a picture and say, guys, this podcast really helped me out. I appreciate it. I mean, again, like kind of like what Matt was saying last week, I don't have to kill ducks to feel gratification. You know what I mean?
Yep.
As long as I'm seeing dead ducks, I'll be happy. So even if I'm not killing any down here in South Carolina.
No, as long as I'm talking about waterfowl,
right? Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy. So 100%. So you can shoot both of us message. You can email, or you can message the Facebook page. I have a Twitter. It's at Benji1189. Levi has a Twitter. We both have Instagrams as well. You guys can reach out to us.
Collins6. So Twitter.
Yep. So you guys can message us. You guys can reach out. I am always 100% always down to talk waterfowling.
Yeah.
But so like us, subscribe, comment, talk to us. And like Levi said, we are here for you. And if there is a specific niche that you want to talk about, I guarantee you that we know somebody. Just being in the community, we know somebody who can provide some kind of context, some kind of information to provide to you. And as Levi said, our last two, our one last week went about 2 hours. This one's pushing that 2 hour timeline too. But last week we blew it out of the water. I mean, you guys gave us so many views, so many downloads. So if you guys want, if 2 hours is too long, let us know. But last week, man, y'all listened and y'all killed it. The numbers on it were amazing. So we went ahead. We gave another 2 hours, giving you guys as much information as we can possibly give. But if you guys want us to consolidate it, we can do that as well. So what's up, Levi?
Like I was telling you before, we started recording. I joined a podcast group on Facebook. I'll keep this short, guys. I promise. But a lot of people are saying like they were struggling, like they've been doing podcasts for like 5 months and barely reaching like 200, 500 downloads, like I think total. And then we're over 200 on just week 2. Over 200 on like YouTube, all the streaming platforms for podcasts. I mean, I'd never, dude. I put it as a short-term goal when we first started this to average 100 views. I didn't think we were gonna get this fast, this early, but yeah, guys, we have a lot. We got Mr. David Strickland coming on next week on the 25th. We got Colby and Matt coming on later that week as well. We got Ty Bodyford whenever he gets time. I know it's harvesting season right now for him. We have a lot of content. We have a lot of people that know what they're talking about. That's going to be able to give you either things to think about or things. I know Mr. Strickland is really pushes for habitat and conservation. So we're really going to touch on that and see how you can make a difference instead of just sitting back and saying, well, there goes all the habitat for the ducks. You know what I mean? Especially, again, we're public land hunters. We don't have the money for an impoundment or a duck lease out here on the East Coast. So we're gonna. That's another thing that I'm really looking forward to pushing out. Like, how can your voice be heard, and see how you can make a difference.
And so one thing to note is we got we got Mr. Michael. What's the individual's name? I'm drawing a blank right now. Coming on from High Prairie Outdoors and Big Kansas Outdoors.
Mikkel Goins. He's the
Mikkel
I went to
Goins.
high school with him. He's a waterfowl guide. He'll be coming on in early September. Talk
Yeah.
about just ducks and like what to look for in a like if you're looking to do an outfitter, like if you don't have the time to do DIY and you just want to go kill birds, what to look for. Just kind of like just tips and tricks that he's learned along the way too. I mean, if you guys
so check out Mr.
if you guys go to his Instagram, he has Instagram. I think it's just MIKALGOWINS. Just he has like 20 videos. It's like probably like 8 or 10, but it feels like 20. It's just tornadoes of just geese, specks. I mean, snow geese just tornadoing down until they're spread. And he's got awesome. He really only posts during duck season, which makes sense. But he's got a lot of cool videos on there.
Yeah, check him out, man. And if you've never seen High Prairie Outdoors or Big Kansas Outdoors, just YouTube him, man. That's all I got to say about it. And so he's linked up with them. But yeah, guys, 100% appreciate y'all. But this has been the Round the Blind podcast. I'm Ben. That's Levi. We have 100% appreciate your support, and we will see you guys with Combat Waterfowl.